All right. I think we're recording now. I got to stop sharing just to make sure. Yes, we are. Okay. So I'll go back to sharing my screen. So what we're talking about today with Greg and Warren is 8 Kensington in Smith Falls, which is a small town about an hour and 15 minutes, or an hour and 20 southwest of Ottawa. And anything south is good, by the way, since Ottawa's so cold. And one of the things that we looked at just before we started recording, and I'll go back just for a second, is this is the property that Greg and Warren are looking at, or will be looking at on the weekend. It is a duplex now, and it has a detached garage. It has plenty of room for parallel parking, which is good, so you don't have to car jockey. And then there's the possibility of turning this into 1 or 2 workshops so that people can live and work on the same site. That's a big deal. But then when I was fooling around on Google, I noticed right across the street there is an old garage here and a bit of a parking lot, and that maybe this would be available too, because Smith Falls is a town that fell on very hard times for a long time, but is coming back. This particular property is being listed for sale at $269,900, which is, I think, a reasonable price for a duplex compared to, say, what you would pay in Ottawa, and this may be available too. So then I said, let's look at what what Carolyn Butts and Hans Honecker did in Tamworth, about an hour and a half east of Toronto. First of all, here's a skill testing question for you guys. Who said nothing is sustainable unless it's also economically sustainable?
I'm going to guess you did, Bruce.
Yep. Warren, you know me too well, but I really mean that. I really believe in that people talk about sustainability, but if it's not economically sustainable, it won't be environmentally sustainable. So there you go. So this is Carolyn Butts, and she is Nick Cripps's aunt. And she moved to this little tiny town of Tamworth quite some time ago now. And then she was joined by architect Hans Honecker, who's both her business partner and her life partner. And the population, it's a very small town, is 7,700 people. And it has been increasing. And with the pandemic, you guys know that little towns like Smith Falls, Rockland, Belleville, where I've been investing, Tamworth, are experiencing a new renaissance, right? People are leaving these big cities. You can work in San Francisco, make $300,000 a year working for a tech company there, and live in Boise, Idaho. You can work remotely, work for a company, an insurance company in Toronto, and live in Whitby, which is what one of my daughters is doing. So anyway, so they bought this garage, which looks a little bit like the one across the street from 8 Kensington. It's 20,000 square feet, and I think I told you. Do you remember what they paid for it?
Was 220?
No, 25,000 bucks.
Oh gosh.
5,000 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you remember that do you remember my project in Belleville?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we bought a 12,000 square foot 3-story building on the main street of Belleville, which has commercial at grade and then apartments above. We bought it for $280,500, which is about $24–25 a square foot. You can't build a doghouse for that, right? I mean, a doghouse is $40 a square foot. A garage is $85 a square foot these days. I don't have to tell you what the price of lumber is.
Yeah, it's going through the roof.
So they bought, but I thought I was doing pretty well, but they bought this garage in Tamworth that nobody else wanted for $1.25 a square foot. You can't build anything for that. Maybe you can build a paper airplane. Maybe you can build a paper airplane. This is the main street of Tamworth, and Carolyn and Hans, like myself, and I think you guys as well, really believe in this main street makeover model. Lots of young people want to live and work in the same place. They want to be able to walk to a coffee shop. They want to be able to live and work in the same place that we talked about a few minutes ago. So what Carolyn and Hans did was they renovated this station, and they created it. So I guess what they created inside, Warren?
Nice.
They created workshops inside.
Yeah.
Right? So what you're seeing here is, they now call it the Bon Echo Station. And what they did was they bought a lot of other properties, residential properties nearby, and they converted those into into Airbnbs, but inside the Bon Echo station, they created workshop space. And what they did in Tamworth, and it's been a blowout success, is you can now, say you have a tech company in Toronto and you want to put a group somewhere else, outside of the city to focus on something, and they need room to do some actual, mock-ups or some, work with clay or whatever they have to do.
Yeah.
Just spread out. So they can come here and they can get a bunch of Airbnb rooms from Carolyn and Hans, and then they have these workshops which are literally steps away. So so they combine the workshop, the makerspace with the residential, and each of their Airbnb apartments is themed. They give it a theme. It's like when you go to Las Vegas, you can go to the Wayne Gretzky room, you can go to the Marilyn Monroe room. They have themes, and they would not give them those kind of themes. Obviously, they would do something different, but they give them themes. And they don't really go for the short-term rentals. Like, people are typically staying, let's say, Greg, you wanted to write, your memoirs one day. You might go there and spend 6 weeks there. So it's not really, a hotel. It's not really supposed to be that kind of thing, because that's a lot of work, renting something out every 2 or 3 days. It's more like, medium-term rentals, all right? And they also really believe in small town revitalization. I think Carolyn wrote this. Small town revitalization is a subject that occupies our thoughts and energy daily. I came to Tamworth 20 years ago, and a few years later met Hans, and he moved here in 2005. We've just returned from a drive across Canada and noticed this country is awash in empty towns and villages. Our situation is unique because we have built our business with minimal investment using just our labor and skills. So Carolyn really had no money when she started, or very, very little. And Hans and her, they're hands-on. I mean, they're amazing. Okay, so here are some lessons that Carolyn is passing on to you guys and through me. Change should come from within. I chose to live here first and started by painting the outside of my own house. She grew her business slowly, and the locals were more supportive and accepting because of that. She respected and included the locals, and she wasn't beyond teaching other people around her how to improve their properties.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this. You guys all obviously will know the answer. If you own a property and all the properties, or most of them on your block, or within a couple of blocks, they start to improve their properties, what happens to your property value?
Everything goes up.
All of them go up.
All of them go up. You have to be creative and resourceful. And she recommends doing it for lifestyle, not as an investment per se, and don't overcharge. You are better off, in our view, with longer stays at a lower per night charge than shorter stays at higher prices with more vacancies and more changeovers. I think that is actually correct. And a lot of the people I talk to, they want to get the last penny out of every day. And I often say you're better off with medium-term rentals being anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months, or 3 weeks to 6 months, as opposed to 3 days. I certainly wouldn't run any Airbnbs that were 2 or 3 night stays.
Yeah.
So her model is this: buy up small apartments and buildings in a small town. Right now, my wife and I own one building in Belleville. We're fixing it up, but there are plenty of others that are available. And some of my clients are joining me in Belleville. We're gonna blow the lid off of that town in a good way. So once you're established and you've got sort of a base level of investment that you're happy with, there's no reason why you can't invite other people to come and join you in Smith Falls and bring the entire town up. We talked about theming each apartment, renovating using a lot of sweat equity. I don't know if you'll do that. And rent to artists and creatives, short and long term, on home sharing platforms like Airbnb and vacation rental by owner. Here's some of their studios, and you can see this particular studio. A lady painter came, and she spent a few weeks with them, and that would be typical. She has an apartment, and then she has a studio where she can paint. We've already seen this picture, and I think that's pretty much it for this particular slide deck. I mean, there's a lot more in there, but you get the sort of the message, right?
Absolutely.
So going back now to 8 Kensington, what I wanted to say to you guys is this. Here's what I think the highest and best use is. Now, you guys may not agree with me, and that's fine, but let's just look at it together. Right now, it's a duplex, correct?
Yep.
That's it. Yeah.
And so one of the things that I was thinking is and I'm going to show you some slides on this. When you go through it, you might be able to add an additional microsuite. We have to look at the zoning for that, but I'm going to show you what a client of mine has done. We talked about, that backyard garage being a place for 1 or 2 workshops. We talked about the property across the street, doing it, what I call a Tamworth there. And the question I wanted to ask you, Greg, is would this be the kind of place you could do a Little Steps Academy?
So theoretically, maybe, but I'll say having, like, I've got the agreement from Tim on that particular piece, and I don't think it's equitable there. In all honesty, when I run the numbers on it, you wouldn't like, the margins are so tight that you probably wouldn't make any money doing it.
So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Okay, so a couple of things. Like, one, the big outlier from a regulatory standpoint, just the number of kids you can have in any place in Ontario versus in Calgary without having a license, right? So off the top, basically your profit margin on that, from that perspective, you've lost it when you lose that kid at $1,600 a month framing. If you went in all of your other operating expenses, it really doesn't, in this environment, and what the typical going is for childcare in and around Ontario, particularly around Ottawa, the only place that you could really make the money you need to, or charge the rates that you need to make it viable, is more downtown Ottawa. So from that perspective, the market, at least from my research, it just won't hold it. There's not enough high income in that particular area to balance out that price level.
Fair enough. All right, so we'll just take that off the list. So I want to show you then 2 possibilities to animate this property. One is to add a microsuite, and the other I'm going to talk about for across the street is something that I'm experimenting with. And I think, Warren, you're going to really enjoy this. I mean, if you guys had more room at Aikens Road, I think you would use this model at Aikens Road. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it would be, but let me show you what it is, okay? But let me go back. First, we'll talk about the microsuite, okay? So this is, you guys know what a typical microsuite looks like, right? You've seen these a million times from me. You come in here, you got a little bedroom, you got a bathroom here, a tiny little kitchen, an entertainment and work area, and then hopefully some access to the outside. These microsuites are typically, 300 to 400 square feet. And the Belleville property that my wife and I are redeveloping has 6 existing microsuites on the 3rd floor, and they average about 400 square feet. So I like them, and they're really, really popular. So this was, you ever see this slide before, Warren?
No, I don't think I have.
I don't think I showed you this. But this is a friend of mine and one of my coaching clients. His name is Ken McKenzie, and this is his home in Rockland. And he and his wife are younger than me, but they're getting on now towards 60, and they're thinking about retiring, and they really are concerned, about their retirement income. You guys know that the average Canada pension plan payout last year in 2019 was $690 a month.
Yeah.
So that's really terrible. So I went to visit Ken and Natalie, and this is a nice home in Rockland. I really liked it. And they would like to make sure that their principal residence is contributing, something to their lifestyle. So this is really interesting. This is obviously facing the street, and here is their front porch, and you see this whole wall of glass here. Yep. So now we're inside. So this room here is this room here, okay? So now we're inside the home, and this is their living room. And it turns out that Ken and Natalie have not 1, but 2 living rooms. And I said to Ken and Natalie, why do you guys need two living rooms? I mean, really? He said, we hardly ever use this room. It's got nice furniture in it, but we hardly ever use it. So I said, aha. So this is a picture that I took this way, and here's the picture going this way. You with me on that?
Yep.
Yep.
This room is almost perfectly suited. Well, it is perfectly suited to develop as a micro suite with about 8 feet of drywall. It's separated from the rest of the house. And the nice thing about this room is it has an existing door to the outside. So when you go and look at 8 Kensington this weekend or any other properties that you're interested in, see how many doors lead to the outside. That is a really important thing. You guys know that when you're looking at, say, developing a basement apartment, it really helps lower your renovation costs if there's an existing door that gives it a separate access to the basement. You know that, eh, Warren?
Absolutely.
So what I look for when I say I'm buying a bungalow for myself or my clients, I'm looking at, okay, you've got the main house here. Is there a separate entrance to the basement? And is it easily accessible to a potential tenant? Because if that already exists, you're going to save $15,000 or $20,000, even $25,000 from having to rejig the foundation to bring in a separate entry. And that's expensive and time consuming and difficult. So if it has an existing door to the basement, entrance to the basement, that is a big plus. I want you to look at the duplex to see if the basement is developable here. I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah, there's nothing, there's no photo on the listing.
Yeah, so you're looking for something when obviously when you go down there, you're looking, is it dry? Does it have at least 6'6" ceiling heights? How tall are you, Greg?
About
6 feet. Yeah, my sons are over 6 feet, 6'2", 6'1", and 6'6" is kind of the minimum, and hopefully it's 7 feet or 8 feet even, but 6'6" is the minimum. So you're looking for what is the ceiling height down there? Is it is accessible from? You need a separate entrance in Quebec. I have many clients that I coach in Quebec. Having one entrance and then say 3 apartments, one going downstairs, one on the main floor, one going upstairs, that is acceptable in Quebec because Quebecers tend to be more accepting about living, sort of together, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But in Ontario, people don't want to know their neighbors. They don't want to see my ugly face or your ugly face one every day. They want their own entrance and their own ingress and their own egress. So if I tend not to buy a property that cannot have would have say one door and then you've got 3 more inside. People just don't like it. If they like that kind of style, they'll go and rent an apartment somewhere, in a 10-story building. So this is me on the porch taking a picture of this door, and there's Ken in the reflection, and here's the porch. So you can see it's perfectly set up for a micro suite. It has its own ingress and egress. So where was I? Yeah, I'm going to go back to, let's see if I have it here. I just show you this. These are micro suites that were built by UBC last year, University of British Columbia last year in 2019. And they're so small, they don't call them micro suites, they call them nano suites. Nano is very, very small. And when I tell you how big they are, you're not going to believe it. These are 145 square feet.
What?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Japanese standards were huge.
You know what?
No, I'm serious. I think about what's coming into the UBC, right? Right, like if you out there, the whole of that part of the country is Asian, is like, it's all from mainland China or Japan and Hong Kong.
You are not
in which
wrong.
case 120 square feet is massive.
Right. One of my young clients is teaching right now English as a second language in China, and he has a micro suite that is even smaller than this. It's about 135 square feet, and there's 3 people in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
They have 2 bunk beds on one side and 1 bunk bed on the other side. So Greg, you're not wrong, but we're not in China.
Well, that's exactly it.
We're talking Smith Falls or Belleville. Okay, so my micro suites are between between 300 and 400 square feet, but UBC did 145 square feet. But it includes a full kitchen. It includes a bed that turns into a desk and a desk that turns into a bed. Has a full bathroom. It's not very big, but you can have a shower and and do what you need to do. And here's the floor plan, okay? So there's the shower, the bed that turns into a desk, the desk that turns into a bed, the kitchenette, the closet, and they call this open space for storage. You know, maybe you could put a cane there or something like that, and they have a chair. So it's very, very, very limited, but thank God they did it, because it allows students to self-isolate, so that you don't have the situation where you have 2 or 3 roommates. All right. Some people are doing things like this. You can see this as a GIF going back and forth. These are just ways to make your micro suites bigger. This is a pretty expensive deal here, but you know, there you go. So that's something that some of my clients have been experimenting with, really making their micro suites, you know, fantastic. I probably wouldn't do this in Smith Falls, but I might do it in Manhattan.
Yeah.
All right. Here's another micro suite. You can see with a pocket closet in it. So you can see if this was a bed that would fold up, what do they call those, Murphy beds?
Beds.
You could have a micro suite that could be, in fact, 130 square feet. That's just another shot of the pocket closet. Whoops. And something happened to my screen. Hang on. I want to show you a couple of other things that we're experimenting with. Oop, I did it again. Sorry, I don't want to show you that. It's just a video. So here's another thing that we're experimenting with, guys. For the micro suites that we're developing, or redeveloping is a better way of putting it, in Belleville, we're thinking of doing this because we have 12-foot ceiling heights on the, believe it or not, on the 3rd floor, we have 12-foot ceiling heights.
Wow.
So we're gonna put the bed under, you know, we're gonna create, so the micro suite will have a floor here, and then a couple steps up to something you see here, and the bed is underneath. Can you sort of see it on the screen?
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
And that's something that if you have the ceiling height that you can do, and we're going to do that, I think, in at least a couple of our micro suites. This is what one of my clients did downtown Ottawa. He had the ceiling heights as well. He had a condo, which is hard to animate. He had a condo that was just like a bachelor. And he was losing money every month. And so he asked me to come down and do a little bit of coaching. So I did. And I said, well, you've got the ceiling height here. And so what he did, he wasn't allowed to do anything to the walls, but he was allowed to build a piece of furniture in there. So he was able to create a loft bed.
Wow.
And this is the loft. You can see it here. It's just a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
And Warren, that's something you could build in a jiffy.
Yeah.
And up there, he calls it the hideaway. He's got the bed, and he's got the TV and the internet, etc. And his rent for this condo downtown went from $1,100 a month to $1,600 a month.
I'll unload this stuff after.
Yeah, and it cost him about $18,000 to build that piece of furniture with all the technology he put into it as well. But if you think about that, Warren, he made an extra $500 a month on an $18,000 investment. That's about $6,000 a year. It's about a 30 or 33% gross return, right? Which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Here's something he did that I thought was wrong. To get into the loft bed, he put in like what, he built, this is part of the furniture, he built a ship's ladder, and which is good. And then underneath, he developed it as a sort of a leisure area. This couch, I think, or the new one that he's put in, is a pull-out couch. So now this is actually kind of a 2-bedroom, to sort of see what I'm getting at. But this is what he did that I think was wrong. He put in each of these stairs, he put in drawers, and he didn't show me the design until afterwards. And I said, if somebody forgets to shut the drawer and you're up there and you run down the stairs because there's a fire or something, or you're going to kill yourself.
Yep.
And what he should have done, obviously, is the drawers should have pulled out the side here, right?
Right.
Do you understand that, Greg?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, so that was a mistake. All right, that's enough of that. So when I'll just get out of this, hang on. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing that. So let me just explain the economics and also the logistics of it. So going back to Ken and Natalie, to put up the drywall, and there's a door between the main house and the micro suite. Normally, my wife and I built a micro suite in one of our buildings last year, and it cost us $40,000 to do it. So we developed a micro suite. We furnished it, and we rent that micro suite for $1,300 a month. So we rented to a really nice young man. He's going to be there forever. I mean, he's a young man, but he was getting divorced, unfortunately, and he loves it. And you know, he just, you know, he has all the freedom in the world, and you know, he's fine with it, and he doesn't want roommates. So $1,300 a month times 12 is $15,600 a year gross operating income. And as you guys know, I multiplied that by 0.66 because about 34% of all your income goes out the window for operating expenses. So we ended up with about $10,000 a year in net operating income from that micro suite. So that's about a 25% cap rate.
Yeah.
So Warren, if you can make 25%, Greg, that's good money.
Yep.
So what did Ken and Natalie do? Well, Ken is quite handy, and he and his oldest son put up the drywall. They put the shower in. They put the kitchen in, and they furnished it, and they rented it for not quite as much as we're getting, because ours is Ottawa, his is Rockland. He gets about $1,100 a month for his micro suite in Rockland. And that's gross, plus the guy pays a contribution to hydro, and he pays a tech package on top of that. But base rent is $1,100. And I asked him how much it cost, and including the furniture, which Natalie did, it was $16,000.
Wow.
So I went 1,100 times 12 times 0.66. And I divided that by $16,000. But you got to remember, he did a lot of the work himself. I mean, he ended up with over 50% cap rate.
Yeah.
Those are fantastic numbers. I mean, and I don't put those in my slide deck, because if you show somebody a 50% cap rate, they just don't believe you.
Yeah.
All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to see if there's some place that you could put a micro suite in. Now, we got to talk about zoning. So when I went to see Ken and Natalie, in their building, there already was, on the ground floor, you know, sort of the lower level, which was a walkout, there was already a one-bedroom place there. They didn't realize that they actually had, you know, because their oldest son was living there. He's moved out since. They have a one-bedroom apartment downstairs, you know, with its own entrance and everything. It's all set up. All they have to do is lock the door, and it even has its own wet bar, right? So it is legal in Rockland to have a main house and to have an apartment. It's also legal in Ottawa to have a main house and to have a basement apartment. All right, so everything's good. So I said to Natalie and Ken, you can get $1,500 or $1,600 a month for this beautiful one bedroom. They said, really? I said, yeah, and that's what they're doing. But when it came to the micro suite, you are not allowed. That would be like a triplex. That is not allowed. Not in Ottawa and not in Rockland, not unless we get some of the bylaws changed. So what Ken and Natalie had to do was the door between the main house and the micro suite is just a door. It's a solid core door, but is a door. And you are allowed to put a wet bar and another bathroom in any room in your house. You can do that upstairs if your grandmother was sick, Warren or Greg, and you want to put a little bathroom in there for her and a shower that she can, wheel into. Go ahead, and you need to put a fridge up there and a microwave and a hot plate. Go ahead. There's no regulations about that. But what you can't do is you can't create another apartment. Now, so they were able to get their building permit and their occupancy permit, not a problem for the micro suite, but it had to be a part of the main house. Now, after they got their occupancy permit and the building permit, the plans guy, the building inspectors had gone away and everything was good, somehow or other that door ended up with double lock on both sides. That is not permitted. But a lot of people, and I can't coach you to do this, and I did not coach Ken and Natalie to do it. Put it in the micro suite, no problem. But once you lock that door, there's not a problem with fire exiting. There's not a problem with the building code. Everything works. But it's not, now they have created a third apartment. That is not, kosher, I guess is the word I was looking for, with, the zoning code. But,
yeah.
the fact is, I don't think Justin Trudeau is going to write a check to Ken and Natalie every month for $1,100 for the rest of their lives. And they need the money to live on. They do. So a lot of people, Warren and Greg, are doing what they need to do in order to take care of themselves. And it isn't always 100% compliant with the zoning bylaws. But I do emphasize to everybody, be compliant with the building code.
Yeah.
But only you can make those decisions. I cannot. And I will admit to you guys, I'm just going to pause the recording for a second. So anyway, so those are the decisions that you have to make and only you can make. But I can tell you that for myself and for many of the people I coach in Canada and the United States, you know, I mean, Mr. Trudeau, Justin, is quite happy to send huge checks to charities like We Charity. I don't know if you followed that scandal. I mean, I'm not a political guy, but
there's nothing wrong with that.
Warren, I know those guys in Toronto. They had a contract for $900 million.
Yeah.
54 million of it went to those guys, to their private company, and they bought downtown Toronto real estate with it.
Yeah,
That is a fact.
I saw.
And if Justin is going to send you guys $54 million so you can buy downtown Toronto property, you don't need any more coaching. You can quit right now.
It's who you know, right?
But that is atrocious.
Yeah.
And for Justin Trudeau, and again, I'm not political. I mean, I think Justin has done a decent job in a very difficult situation facing down COVID. But when Justin Trudeau goes on TV and says, you know, it's not a conflict of interest. They didn't give me the money. Yes, they gave it to my wife. Yes, they gave it to my son. Yes, they gave it to my mother. But it's not a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
That I don't. I'm sorry, guys. I couldn't. I just went, wow, Justin. That's the very definition of conflict of interest. I should shut up now. All right, but you know what I mean. I was pissed off, and I think a lot of Canadians were too.
Absolutely, and it was the denial more than anything. It's like you know you've made an egregious error, and own up to it, and face the consequences. Right? Don't try and sugarcoat it.
Well, there is no sugarcoating that, and nobody, not even.
That's why you're not a politician, Warren.
No.
No, but
you can't lie with this.
I think he should have said. I think he should have said what the finance minister said. Look, I made a mistake. I should have declared a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And everybody would say 100%. And Greg, I don't know what you're like. I know Warren and I have talked a lot more than you and I, but I was taught as a young boy, I went to a military school, you know, I was in the cadet corps and the militia, and I was taught to take responsibility for my actions.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, when you would line up, if something had gone wrong, you know, we did shit like as kids, you know, when something had gone wrong, they would line up the entire corps and ask the people who were responsible for, you know, whatever kind of mischief we've been up to, could you please step forward? And by golly, you did. And back then, I don't know if you know this, but you would get caned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they don't cane people anymore, I don't think, but I got caned 3 times.
We're not allowed to do that anymore.
I don't think they do, but I got caned, you know, as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, and maybe, yeah, after that, I figured it out. You know, I thought,
I was going to say, you learned your lesson.
I learned my lesson. So anyway, coming back, I'm almost done on this Kensington thing. Coming back to this possible additional acquisition, and then of course this thing. What I wanted to show you, Warren, especially you, but also of course Greg, is what I'm doing with my old barn. And I wonder if I have pictures of it here somewhere. Yeah, you can see it
That's
here.
in my neighborhood.
Yeah, it's out in Dunrobin.
Yeah, I run by there every week.
Yeah. So this is a barn. Did I ever show you this one, more?
Yes, I did see that one.
I think I showed you this. So this is a barn that I actually took down from John Galetta's property on March Road and rebuilt on my property. Wow. And it's been there since the 1990s. I built it. I was just bored one summer, so this is what I decided to do, because they were just going to tear the barn down and throw it away. And I went with a crew and we took it down piece by piece and we reassembled it here. So this was a party place for my 5 kids when they were growing up, right? It's got a beautiful pond next to it, and we got lots of fish, and we swim and we sail and we kayak and canoe there. But it was just basically, I had a big screen TV in there. We used to watch Blue Jays games, and we would have sleepovers in this thing, you know, for 50 kids. It was just wild. We had a lot of fun with it. So what I'm doing, and I'll just skip all of this stuff. You don't need to see all this. Where am I at? Oh yeah, here it is. No, not yet. Okay, so what I've done is, because my kids are all grown up and they're not interested in sleeping in a barn, I've turned it into a series of workshops. And I've leased some of them out because there's a lot of demand for workshops. So this is the first lease I did was with a carpenter for $1,070 a month, plus HST, plus the tech package, plus contribution to hydro. Then another small workshop I leased for $250. I've got another one at $375, another one at $375, and another one at $525. But when I added these numbers up, guys, it wasn't enough. So, because it's not as big as Aikens Road, you've got 18,000 square feet. Yeah. We only have like about 3,000 or 4,000 square feet. So it just, you know, when you did the numbers, it was like what you were saying earlier, Greg, about Little Steps Academy. It wasn't, you know, it just didn't pass muster, but it was better than nothing. So what I did was I created, because I had the main hall, which is a big space, I created a membership model. And people can for $135 a month plus a contribution of $15 towards power and $12.50, I think, a contribution towards cleaning. They can bring their own workbench there, and they can use the hall in a cooperative manner.
Yeah.
And so the membership model compared to all, can you see the leases up here, Warren? The membership model will contribute over $5,000 a month. It means that my crappy old barn, which is actually quite nice now, I've really done a big job on it, will generate over $90,000 a year in gross income.
So in that model, Bruce, are there limitations on the amount of time that each member can participate?
So no, we did not limit it. It's cooperative. So they're all signed, you know, like there's only 30 members. I'm not going to have more than 30. I mean, if you had 100 members, they would start fighting. They would, you know, it's like rats in a cage. You know, that would be bad. So I said, no, I'm only going to limit it to 30. But these are hobbyists, right? So so here it is. So it's a little bit more than I thought. It's $135 for base rent, $15 contribution to power, and some of them will rent storage lockers for me. I think I have some pictures of that. And for $95 a month, $12.50 for cleaning, and $258 because they have to be able to lock their tools away.
Yeah.
All right. So here I have some pictures here. So here are some of the small workshops here that are like even less than 200 square feet, Warren. So they're really tiny. Here's a little bit bigger one. I think this is 600 or 700 square feet. And I put in, like you did, Warren, I put in lots of overhead doors, you know, that ours are automatic. Are yours automatic too?
A couple of them are, a couple of them aren't.
Yeah, so all of ours have these keypad locks so that everybody gets their own code, right? So if they don't pay, the code doesn't work anymore. And these are the storage lockers that I bought I bought these from New Brunswick, and they're galvanized steel. And this is one of the guys who works for me. His name's PJ. This is PJ putting them together. You could put these containers together, I'm not kidding, in 15 minutes. They come flat pack.
Yeah.
You put them together. You don't even need any tools, as long as you know, they're all, you know, you just twist them on. What are they called?
Yeah.
What are they called, Warren?
I think they're just like wing nuts. Like
wing nuts, thank you. That's exactly right. They're very, but they are mouse proof, which is important. And they're $2,500 each, and I rent them for $95 a month. So it's about a little less than $1,200 a year on a $2,500 container. That's probably about a 30 or 35% cap rate, which is pretty good. You can see here they are lined up in the barn. This is the main hall. And and I put double doors on them. I ordered the ones, Warren and Greg, with double doors so that you could put an ATV in here if you wanted to, but certainly get any tools that you were thinking of, you can get them in there. So I'm calling it Blue Heron Makerspace and Workshop Alliance. All right. I thought that was a nice name.
Yeah.
Makers, shapers, drapers, shakers, but no fakers. I don't know. That's the best I could do. That's my tagline. So it's for maker. It's for makers, basically. And I put together a membership agreement. And this was the very first guy who signed up for the membership. His name is Ian Lawford. He's a master craftsman. This is Ian here. And he's bringing in his own workbench. And he was my very first member. So, you know, so I'm going to put inside, I guess I should blow this up again. Sorry, guys. So I'm putting inside a bunch of my own workbenches, but you can bring your own. And if you don't want to rent one of my big storage lockers, you are allowed to bring in your own foot locker and lock it up.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's the plan. And it's so the membership model brings in about $60,000 a year in a 1,500 square foot space, Warren.
Yeah.
That works out to about $40 a square foot gross. Which is, you're doing very well at Aikens Road, but you're not doing $40 gross.
No, not near that.
Well, do you remember what you're doing there?
Total? Jeez. No, not off the top of my head.
The last time I checked, it was probably between $15, depending on the lease and how big a space, $15 and $18 gross.
Yeah.
So the membership model is more work, but you know, it's a wonderful model.
It's more lucrative.
It is. So, and you know, it's really not that much work, especially once you've got your 30 members, or I don't know how big that automotive garage is across the street, but it's probably bigger than my barn.
Yeah. My
barn is only like the total, including there's a loft in there, including the loft is only about 4,000 square feet. I guess that thing across the street is probably 6,000 or 7,000 square feet. So you could turn it into a makerspace, a membership model. That is, that would be a really big winner, because everybody in Smith Falls has a gig. Trust me on that.
Yeah,
totally. Yep.
So can you imagine if you had, say, instead of 30 members, you had 60 members paying, you know, $150 or $200? You know, that would be like $9,000 a month. It'd be over $100,000. Nobody other than you guys and people like me would ever think of something like that.
Yeah.
And if you had, say, 60 members of your makerspace, and then you bought some more residential buildings in Smith Falls, guess where everybody's going to end up renting?
Yeah.
All right, is it making any sense?
Totally.
So, to me, this model has real legs, and you know, it's successul for. I mean, it has changed Tamworth. I mean, the entire town has, like, they've taken. Carolyn Butts and Hans Honegger have really taken that town and moved it to a whole other level. People are learning from them. And if you could do something similar, I think, in Smith Falls, and probably more successful in Smith Falls than Perth, because Perth has got a lot of old money.
Yeah.
Smith Falls is poor.
Yeah.
Which is, to me, is a good thing for you.
Yeah. Well, we think so too.
All right.
The rental market's stable there because there's always high demand, and you know, you just there's huge opportunity because it's just starting to gentrify. So the other piece on that place on Kensington is it is one of those streets. So as per my my report, and given my ex-military background, I like to recce things. So we go out whenever I find stuff. We actually go out and see it. That's how my mind works. So
I know that.
Drive down that street, and that one was kind of a random piece because it wasn't on our original list, but it caught our eye as soon as we saw the for sale sign. Is that it's a bit of that, like, nice house, run down, nice house, run down, nice house. So it starts back, right? Like it's just getting to that first level of gentrification in that particular neighborhood.
I'm so keen on it. I mean, as soon as you sent it to me, Greg, I think it was this morning. I mean, I did quite a bit of work on it today because I'm super keen on gentrifying. Gentrifying, by the way, is a word that you should never use when you're talking to any local people because they don't want to think that they're low class.
Yeah.
And you know what I think Hillary Clinton was probably the worst presidential nominee ever, or certainly one of the worst. Again, I'm not political, but when she called Mr. Trump's followers, you know, lowlifes or something like that, that was the end of her. Like nobody wants to elect a leader who, hey, listen, you know what? I have a number of rural properties and I rent to roofers and, you know, guys who work with their hands and they pay their bills. If there's a problem with the toilet, they don't call me. They just get a plunger and they plunge the damn thing, right? They're wonderful people. And people told me, oh, you're renting to a roofer. They're all criminals. They're all this, that, or the other thing. They don't need the tech package. That's bullshit, guys. Roofers know how to use their smartphones just as well as you do, Greg, and much better than Warren does.
Much better than Warren. So it's the mill workers who can't use their fucking technology.
You know, so you know, they love the tech package. They pay their bills. They're helpful. They're polite. Now they have tattoos. You know, they drink beer. They smoke weed. They like screwing girls.
Human being.
Not the worst thing. But they pay their bills, so they get up every day and they go to work.
Yeah.
So, you know, when she said that, I thought, oh my God, she's going to lose it. I was one of the few people who said Mr. Trump was going to win in 2016. I told all my friends, he's going to clean her clock. She's an idiot. Anyway.
Did you think he was going to pull it off this time too?
I actually did.
Yeah.
The fact that he got, Warren, the fact that he got 73 or 74 million votes is incredible. I mean, if you think, listen, again, I'm not saying I would vote for Mr. Trump, but you know, think about what has happened. I mean, you know, not millions, but hundreds of thousands, I think, of Americans have died. You know,
there's like the 260,000 mark.
I think they did, and 40 million Americans unemployed. I mean, the fact that 73 or 74 million votes is really a tribute to his campaigning. If it weren't for COVID and the Chinese disease, which he is completely right about, he would have been reelected in a landslide.
Yeah. I'm quite sure of that.
Yeah. All right. So a couple of other things, you know, that I think you were asking me about, Greg, on the list. But before we go on to sort of the other questions that you asked on your agenda, was there anything else on the models that we've just discussed?
No.
I don't. Go ahead, Warren.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to touch base, and I don't know if we'll do this later on, but there was one of the other properties that we looked at on William Street. Just it's got a lot of potential, but again, with Greg running the numbers, I know we had discussed it's something that's really out of our kind of realm, is to understand if you're looking at developing a property, what's the best route to go? Is it multiple units, or is it capped at a certain point where it doesn't become equitable anymore?
Well, one of the things I think Greg is certainly capable of doing is I think Greg is capable of running cap rate numbers. Correct, Greg?
Yeah. I ran a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
I'm sure you have. So hang on a second. So Warren, on 8 Kensington, what the normal process in terms of my coaching is this, whether it's 8 Kensington or William Street or any other, is that you should go and look at it with Simon Case or Nick Cripps. Yeah. And you know, there's a bunch of tests that you should run. One of them is are your instincts telling you this is a good thing to do? Yeah. You know, you should listen to your gut feeling. I mean, you have to do analysis, but Greg, especially this is directed at you, that at the end of the day, every single human decision, in my opinion, is based on act of faith. Like if you were a general and you're committing your troops to battle, you have a battle plan. You know the battle plan the moment you come into contact with the enemy is going to have to change. But committing your troops to battle is an act of faith. And this is a battle. And so when you're picking a property, it's kind of like picking out a girlfriend. You know, you have to, you want her to be pretty for sure, but your instinct has to sort of say to you, yeah, this is probably going to work. That's important. So you want to do the analysis. So your head is into it. Your heart's in it. You want to be passionate about what you do, which you both are. And you want your gut instincts to be in alignment. If one of those is missing, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, and the cap rate, like on Little Steps Academy, or the return on investment is not good enough, that's a no. If you're not passionate, that's a no. But if your gut is telling you, I don't think this is going to work, listen to it.
Yeah.
All right. So the process is this: you go and see it, take lots of pictures, and put them in Dropbox and share them with your coach.
Okay.
All right. So I can see them.
Yep.
And the other thing is, you do a cap rate analysis, which Greg can certainly do. You can.
I already did it on Kensington. So
what did you get? Can you share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I can flip it to you. I flipped it to Warren already, but
well, I'm going to make you the co-host. Now you can share your screen.
I can't do it on this. I can't do it on this device. I'm on.
Okay.
This isn't hooked up to my computer.
Okay. Well, so just did you send it to me by email?
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah.
Because I'll put it up on my screen.
Okay. Give me a couple minutes.
So, Warren, I wonder what the score is in the game.
Sorry?
I wonder what the score is in the game. I'll tell you in a second. Hang on, I'll tell you. Let's see. What has happening today? Oh, shoot. So, the Texans beat the Lions 41-25, no surprise. And the Cowboys are leading Washington 3-0.
Wow.
It's still in the first, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to put this up on my screen in a second, boys, as soon as I get it from Greg.
So just on the flying cap rate is 6.7% on Kensington without any animation.
Yeah. So you're going to send that to me though, right?
Yeah, I'm sending it to you right now.
Okay. So what was it again?
6.7 without any animation.
All right. So the minimum I've set for you guys and for myself is 6% going in. And what Greg did is exactly right, Warren. You want to know what the cap rate is without animation. And the reason for that is if you buy at 6 or 7% going in, and then you animate, you get to 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, the Belleville property that we bought will probably be about 13%.
Yeah.
And that's good. But if you can go in at 6 or 7%, like what Greg has just said, and then you can animate it, you know, with maybe the workshops or maybe the micro suite, et cetera, and you get to 8%, that's starting to look much better. Yeah. And it's really, really important that, you know, if you think about 8% over the next 20 years, that's that curve. If you think about, say, a typical Toronto cap rate, which is about 3% or 3.5%, it's that. And so you end up in completely different places, right, Warren?
Yeah.
Okay. So 6% minimum, and in small towns like Smith Falls, hopefully more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But even
sorry, pretty conservative given a couple of paradigms, right? One is that the main building itself is now vacant and we can set whatever rental rate we want on that.
When I saw that, I was cheering.
Yeah. So it should come into your email and sometime in the next half hour.
No, I got it now. Yeah. All right. So I'll hang on a second.
There's a whole bunch of files on there. Just choose the Kensington one.
Yeah, I will. Just give me a second here. I got to go into your file here. Oops. All right, I got it.
So we've started to label our the building we go along them or name them. This we're not sure what kind of view it is. 42 William, which has got the file, and that's the one that Warren wants to discuss it, I add some questions to. That's a Beattie special right there, because that's a rectory. So those are churches. And then we have a few of the Bruce specials that we're now kind of chasing, which are the commercial residential use buildings.
So I'm looking at this lovely spreadsheet,
Yep.
and here's the cap rate of 6.8%, which is a decent number, 6.77%.
Yep.
And are you able to? Do you know how to do the internal rate of return?
Yeah, I have.
Is it in?
I haven't done it on that particular one. I mean, cash on cash is about 13% on that.
Yeah. That's good. But what I'm looking at is this property has animation potential. You might be able to add a micro suite. You might be able to do something with the garage. And
so if you look at the income stream,
yeah,
kind of on the right,
okay.
If we change the link from from J7 down to the total down here, so that would be J18. That'll give you a view of what it would look like in cap rates on the whole thing. So I have it all set up so that if you just change the link from at C3 to J18, it'll give you the revised cap rate based on animation, tech package, and the garage.
So, and what does that work out to?
That works out to 9.3% because it flows all the way through.
So if you could get 9.3%, that is a success. So what you're trying to do, Warren, is let's just do some simple numbers here, and you can help me out with this, okay, Greg? So the animated NOI, the animated net operating income with the tech package and the workshops is how much?
2145.
2145. And your cost, all in to buy it, to animate it, renovate it.
Oh, all in cost is a cash or on cash basis, or
no, just total cost. You bought it for $269,000. You pay $30,000 to do some stuff.
Yeah.
So what is your total cost?
Total cost is $279,900.
Right.
279, not
yeah, right.
Not 279.
Yeah. As we get to the end of the day, my error rate goes up.
Doesn't it for everybody?
Yeah, I think it does. Jeff Bezos says do all the hard stuff before 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Absolutely.
I agree with him. And this is hard stuff for me. All right, so there you go. So this is showing 9.2% cap rate. All right?
Yep.
All right, which is very good. So now here's the magic. Warren, I want you to pay close attention to this because this is the magic of getting a cap rate of 9.2%. Probably the fair market value cap rate in a little town like Smith Falls is 5.5%. Okay.
Yeah.
And that doesn't come from me. That comes from CBRE. CBRE is a big real estate company. They do cap rates all across Canada. And in small towns like Belleville, Smith Falls, Perth, it's at 5.5%. In Toronto, it might be 3.5 or 4.5. In Ottawa, it might be 3.5 or 4.5. But in Smith Falls, it's not going to be that. So it means that your fair market value, so a year from now, you buy 8 Kensington or any of these other properties. You buy 8 Kensington and you got a 9.2% cap rate. A year from now or 6 months from now, you get it reappraised. The appraiser comes in and says, what are your leases look like? And you give him or her the leases. And what they do is they take your net operating income and they divide it by the fair market value cap rate. That's one of the ways they do it. And it gives you this valuation. Do you see that, Warren?
Yep.
So now,
already on that sheet too.
well, I'm doing it. Too bad. Right? So now what we do.
You just got this down.
So now what we do, because this is only 2 units, you know, where you could probably get an 80% loan to value. All right, you could probably get a mortgage. Maybe it'll be 75% because it's a small town. So we'll go with 75%. So now, 6 months from now or a year from now, Warren, you put a new mortgage in place. And the mortgage at 75% loan to value is $351,000, more than the cost of this thing.
Yeah.
So between you and your buddy there, Greg, you can pull out, minus whatever your fees are, you can pull out about tax-free cash. Not to mention you're getting your original cash back. So if you guys put in $60,000 or $70,000 to make this whole thing happen, a year from now, you two guys are going to get your original cash back, which might be 60 grand, and another 70,000. So you're going to have 130,000. What are you going to do? You're going to buy another building in Smith Falls. And you do the same thing. If you're disciplined, it becomes like a perpetual motion machine. Warren, you know what that is, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, they don't exist except in real estate. I'm not kidding. I have a dentist client, I think I mentioned him to you, who has 307 properties, and he doesn't know what to do with his money. He has so much, his cash flow is just insane. But I coached him, and he had Simon and Nick and some other people helping him buy all these properties. It took him 5 or 6 years to get to 307. He's a rich dude. But it's a cash flow machine, and it is as close to a perpetual motion machine as you can get. So that's the game that we're playing. And I want you guys to play it with discipline. And knowing Greg a little bit now, he has discipline. Okay? So, you know, all right, enough of that. So now I want to look at 42 William. Let's go first look at it on Google Maps. I guess it's
Beattie special.
What's that?
This is the Beattie special.
Yeah.
Wow, this is beautiful. What the hell would you do with this thing?
So that's just it. I mean, right now, as it stands, it's a wide open building.
Look at the size of this thing.
So
Yeah,
it's not the church, it's the building beside it.
Oh, it's not the church.
Yeah, it's the
It's this
rectory.
guy.
No, it's that guy.
Turn right, right there.
This
Yeah.
guy?
That building, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Oh, look at that. That's a beauty. So what's your plan here, boys?
So
Greg?
this is a bit of the debate, because we went in to take a look at it, and it's all open with the exception of at the back.
Wow.
It's a couple thousand square feet. The ceilings are what, 17 feet more?
Yeah, 17 feet in the main hall.
So, and so there's an opportunity to do a couple of things, and it's zoned weird. But
Well, what is it zone? Don't hold out on me.
it's like a commercial. It's like half commercial, half residential. It's got a kind of crazy zoning.
That's
So
a good zoning, though.
Yeah.
That's
So actually,
it's crazy good.
yeah, talking about your membership space might make me rethink this, and I might have to change some numbers around. But what we were discussing was should we turn it into multiple rentals? Build it. You leave the exterior structure as it is, and build out the interior into 2 floors and put 4 units in it. The reason I have the question on the piece is that, is there a fundamental advantage to trying to do it as 5 and 4 and just making one of the units smaller? Now, we could throw a couple of mites in there and get 5 out of it, no problem. Obviously, our rental costs would go up, but it's got some opportunities.
So this building here is perfect. Sorry, go ahead, Greg.
So it's actually the one right in behind it. So you blew right by it.
So this
with
is
the
not the
blue
building
roof.
here?
Nope.
No.
Oh, Christ, what am I looking at then?
It's on the property with the church.
I'm a total screw up here.
No.
It's the blue building back here?
No, it's that
going.
the one
Going
with
down
the
the
shutter
street.
window.
Yeah. Right there.
Which one is it? This guy?
So one you were looking at in the middle of the screen, that was it. Yep.
Is it this one here where my cursor is now?
Yep.
And what's behind it here?
That's a lean-to. That's where the kitchen. There's an industrial
That's
kitchen.
the side of the kitchen.
Isn't that interesting? So it's this building here.
Yes, sir.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah, you're looking at it.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hearing yes from Warren and no from Greg. My poor brain is going to start leaking out my ears. I'm suing you guys.
Yeah, it's the one with the shutters on the front
Yeah.
window.
Okay. All right. And all right.
Yeah.
Now you have to tell me again. How big is the hall?
Overall
What did we
square
calculate?
footage. Yeah, it was 40. I mean, the main hall was 42 by 35.
That's big.
And then
Yeah.
there's
the
the
kitchen,
kitchen,
right?
Yeah, there's a kitchen off the back.
What are they asking for this thing?
239.9.
239.
Okay. Yeah, so let's just go back a step. I want to see if I've got, yeah, I got it here. So I'm going to send you this, Greg and Warren. This is, I did a lot of work on this membership form, all right?
Yeah.
Greg, since you're going to do some more analysis for this building, 42 William, I want you to look at this. So this is a membership agreement. You know, it talks about the member, the facility location, the shared area, parking and providing free parking, membership fee, the term. By the way, this is really important, Greg. It's month to month.
Yeah.
Because if you say, oh, you got to sign a 2-year lease. Nobody's going to sign a 2-year lease for it's month to month. And I just tell people, hey, listen, if you like it, stick around. You don't like it, you give me a month's notice, adios. There's the contribution for power. Access is via automatic overhead door with passcode. The dimensions of the overhead door. Here's a mistake I made, Warren. I couldn't believe I did this. I ordered a 10-foot wide door by 12 feet high, so I could get RVs in here or whatever I wanted, pickup trucks, even a tow truck maybe. And when I went out there, it was 10 feet wide, all right, and 8 feet tall.
8 feet tall.
It's installed now. That's it. So don't do that. If you're doing a Makerspace, etc. In fact, if I did it again, because I have the room for it, I would have gone 10 feet by 14.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, the extra cost is almost nothing. I mean, I've got 29-foot ceiling heights in there.
Yeah.
So it was just, it was my mistake. I mean, I spec'd 10 foot wide, 12 foot high. It should have been 10 by 14, but I spec'd it that way. But somehow when I actually ordered it, I must have checked off the 10 by 8. My fault. No, I did check that. It wasn't the supplier's fault. It was my fault. And it was a little bit less expensive, but I screwed up. But this is what I wanted to show you to answer your question. To share subject space equitably. These are the commitments they're making. To share the subject space equitably with other members. To share skills and knowledge with other members. To maintain shared facilities in a clean condition. To not make undue noise or dust. To respect other members' intellectual property, tools, and creations. To turn off all lights. To ensure all tools are stored safely and disconnected, to operate in a safe manner at all times, to remove garbage daily. We don't want, raccoons or whatever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's 12 pages long. It's got pictures in it, which I think is really helpful. It talks about, available storage. Yes, I want a storage lock for an extra $95. No, I don't require a storage locker right now. When does it commence? Again, the duration is month to month. The type of materials being stored or type of workshop use. I don't want people, I had 4 young guys from Africa come and they wanted to, do chemical, something with chemistry. You know what they're doing, right? They're fucking making bombs.
Yep.
No, I don't think I'll be renting to you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they were young Muslims. I mean, I have probably 20-30% of my client base is Muslim. I don't have any problem with Muslims, but I have a problem with Muslims making bombs.
Yeah.
That I won't help. Then the vehicle ID, how they pay. By the way, the only way I allow them to pay is by credit card. Once you have their credit card, you got them.
Yep.
And you, Greg, you know how to process credit cards, right?
Yep.
Do you put Square on your phone?
I do.
Warren, do you?
I do.
All right. So once you got that, you can set them up as a customer, and you're good to go. Then there's got the rules, all the late fees, etc. So I'm going to send you guys this. If you do set up a membership, that form, it's about 12 pages long. It's very well thought out. I've done lots of this kind of leasing. That you'll just give it your makerspace or your workshops. Give it your own name. Don't call it Blue Heron, unless you want to license it from me. I'm just teasing you. But you can use that form. All right. So what you would do with this place on William Street, I mean, you have there, what is the ceiling height there again, Warren?
In the main hall, it's 17 feet. Now it's kind of broken up because there's the foyer and there's a loft in that main part, the outcrop that you're seeing there.
Yep.
There is a second area.
But here's the thing: if I understand it correctly, it's 35 by 45 or something like that feet is in the main hall.
Yeah, it's about 1,500 square feet.
Yeah, so almost identical to my main hall in the barn. Not quite as high. My ceiling heights are 29 feet, but your 17 feet is plenty.
Yeah.
I have a client doing a workshop model like this in Long Beach, and he's doing an industrial building that has 11 foot 4 inches, and I've got another client doing one in Kitchener Waterloo in a big building at 11 foot 2. So most of these workshops do not require 17 feet or 29 feet. They just don't. So you're fine. That's fine. And then if I understand what you're saying, Greg, in the back is the potential for micro suites, correct?
Well, in this way, I mean, there's a potential to do micro suites in a couple of places, or like our real intention was not to use this as a space at all, but just to turn it into 4 units. But in thinking this through now, we have different opportunities.
Oh,
because
your opportunity here is completely off the charts, because I'm going to tell you something else that happened to me with my barn. One fellow came in. He also is in this kind of business that you're in. He wanted to rent a workshop, and then we have a beautiful loft up there. He said, "Can I put a 2-bedroom apartment there so I could live and work in the same place?" And I said, "No. The reason for that is I cannot do the fire separations that would be required between a change of use. At workshops, there are some risks. I mean, I don't have to tell you that, Warren. So I said, I can't do that. But when you have something, Greg, that's like this, it's all at grade. The fire separation is much simpler. Yep. Are you following me? So
yeah, totally.
You could have, if I'm understanding what's possible here, and I'm going to go back to this view, is that the back of this building could be, how many square feet is the back of the building? Not the main hall, but the back?
It is, the kitchen area is about 350 square feet.
Oh, so the whole building is only about 2,000 square feet?
Yeah, I mean, probably closer to 2,200 if you include the foyer.
Yeah, so what you would end up with then is not, I don't think it would be quite as exciting as I thought it was. I thought the building was a little bit bigger, because if you could have 4 micro suites of say 400 square feet each, and a 1,500 square foot workshop, makerspace, club in front, that would be very popular. The ability, I can't emphasize this enough to you. If you don't learn anything else from me, that is what people want today. They do not want to sit. My lovely wife would we lived in Canada with 5 kids and mother-in-law, etc. She would get on the Queensway every day to work downtown for Bell Canada. Took anywhere from, if she went on the bus, an hour and a half. If she took her car, it would take an hour and 15 minutes. And in the wintertime, more.
Yeah.
That is just a horrible, I mean, she did that for over a decade, and I really felt for her. I wouldn't have done it. I would have looked for another job. She liked working for Bell Canada. She had a very senior position there. but you know, it's not a great experience. Greg, have you ever had to do 3 hours of commuting a day?
Yep.
Well, how about you,
Yeah.
Warren?
Thankfully, no. I mean, my longest commute was a half hour to 45 minutes, but the hours that I keep, I'm usually not dealing with traffic to begin with. So
I understand, but you know, Greg, did you enjoy that commuting time?
Nope.
Yeah. So when I lived in Sydney, Australia, I lived in Bondi Beach, and I worked in Chatswood on the North Shore. And I took a bus from Bondi to Central Station, which took about 45 minutes. And then from Central Station to Chatswood was about another half hour. So it was about an hour and 20 minutes, you know, trip time, nearly 3 hours a day. And I was a young man, and I didn't mind it actually, because, you know, I'm a chatty sort of guy. I got to know people on the bus and on the train, and it was a nice group. But and you see the same people every day at the same time.
Yeah.
But you know, certainly at 68, I wouldn't want to be doing that. All right.
Well, it's different too if you're sitting in your truck or you're sitting on the Queensway versus in a bus where you can read something or do something else.
Yeah, well, you know, I was a young guy, and like I said, I'm very chatty, and so, you know, we would have a great time. I mean, you know, some of them became friends. You know, we go out and have a beer together. You know, drinking beer was a big thing when you're 21, 22, and you're living in Australia. So when I look at this just off the top here, Greg, this one has a cap rate of 5.1% and probably significant additional investment to make this thing usable, correct?
Yeah. And that's assuming only 2 units instead of 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think that, you know, for your first investment, you know, I don't know. I think I would probably buy 8 Kensington and the auto station across the street if I could. But when you go and see these buildings, it could be completely different. But you know, after today, you will have a sense of what's possible. So go and look at them again and make your own decisions. But I like the 6.7% cap rate going in. I like the 9%. I like the simplicity of 8 Kensington. You know, simple for your first project is probably better.
Yeah, that's certainly one of the considerations.
Okay, so you asked another question, Greg, which is, what is the difference between buying, you know, 4, 3, or 2 units and buying 5 or more? Okay, can I address that?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so first of all, most lenders will treat, certainly most of the major banks will treat 4 units and less as residential and 5 and more as commercial. And if you're buying 2 to 4 units, you should be able to get 75 to 80% loan to value. That should be a no-brainer. I asked you this before, but I'm going to ask you again. What is your credit score, Greg?
Oh, I don't know, 850 or 860.
Oh, it's horrible. How about you, Warren?
I think it was 802 the last time I checked.
Yeah, mine's about the same as yours, Warren. Greg's got his beat.
Yeah.
You know, he's just smarter than we are. But anyway,
I wouldn't count on that.
I don't know. You guys are pretty smart. But anyway, so you need a FICO score, a credit score of 680 or higher to qualify for most mortgages, either on the residential or the commercial side. So 680 would be the absolute kind of the low end, and preferably 710. So whatever you do, don't let your credit scores go below 710. I'm sure that won't happen, but try and keep them 710 or 710 is fine. 720 is great. 800 is super. So when you're applying for financing, if you have a credit score of 710 or higher, 680 is the absolute minimum, but 710 or more, you'll get the best rates. So expect to put down 25%. In Smith Falls, I think it'll be 25% down. In Ottawa, it would be 20% down. Small towns are a little tougher on us. Now, listen, this may not sound great to you guys, but you're probably going to end up paying around 3.5% to 4.5%. you know, on 8 Kensington or any of the other buildings that you buy. You know, if you were buying a house in Ottawa for $800,000, you're putting $300,000 down, and you have the kind of credit scores you guys have, and you work for the government of Canada, and it's just your main principal residence, you can get, you know, rates that are ridiculously low, 1.5%, 2%. But in this business that you're entering into, those rates are, they're held up like, you know, they dangle them in front of you, but they're not real.
Yeah.
And if you're expecting to pay 2%, you'll probably be disappointed. So I think realistically, you'll be 3 to 3.5, 4, 4.5, or even 5%. So those are the rates. But if your, you know, if your cap rate is going to be 9.6% once you've animated it, it almost doesn't matter. You know, obviously 2% would be better than 4%, but it almost doesn't matter. So to me, and I've said this before, the most important thing for you guys, in my mind, is access to financing, not really the cost of financing. As long as you're being disciplined in terms of buying properties. If you buy a property that has a 3.5% cap rate, and you're paying 4.5% interest, well, you're gonna be reaching into your jeans every month to pay for that property. That is a horrible decision. And certainly I'll quit coaching you guys if you do that. I won't coach you to do that. So expect to put down 20 to 25%, 3.5 to 4.5% is typical. When you get to 5 units, though, you will enter into commercial banking. And commercial banking, they'll look at the experience of the investors, your experience. So you'll have to have good CVs, which you probably do. Certainly, Warren, you have lots of experience. You know, you are a property owner, and Greg, you are a property owner as well. Again, you need a FICO score of a minimum of 680, so that's not a problem. This is where you get the problem, though. On the Belleville property that my wife and I bought, we got a 65% loan-to-value mortgage, so we had to put down 35%. Okay. There's really no way around that in commercial mortgages these days, unless you want to pay, you know, 14, 15% on your mortgage, which you should not do.
Ever.
Okay, that would not be a smart play to pay those kind of numbers. I'm okay, by the way, paying, you know, 10, 12, 14, 15%, as long as it's a bridge to the next mortgage, you know, for a 6-month period if you needed interim financing. I've done deals like that for myself where I paid very high rates for 6 months because I needed a bridge to get to the next thing. But then I've replaced it with mortgage takeouts that are 4 or 5%. Okay.
Yeah.
But to have mortgages that are 10 or 12% or higher, that would not work. But you will be expected to put down 35%. The other thing that will come up and by the way, the commercial rates are not that different from the ones I just mentioned. They'll be about 3.5 to 5%. I've got a few more commercial mortgages that I have at 5.5%. I've got quite a few at 4.5%, and a few that are around 3.99% on commercial buildings that I own. Okay, so that's what I'm paying, and you know, but my commercial buildings are quite successful. Everything except the barn, which has been a fiasco. But I'm fixing that now. The other thing that they're going to ask you guys for is a debt coverage ratio of at least 1.2 to 1.25 to 1. Greg, do you know what a debt coverage ratio is?
No, this is net new to me.
Okay, so it's very simple. You'll have no problem calculating it. So you want to show that your net operating income is at least 1.2, at least 120% of your principal and interest.
Okay.
All right. So let's say you were paying principal and interest on your mortgage of $2,000 a month for a property. You would want to be able to show that your net operating income, not your gross, your net operating income, if you're paying $2,000, is at least you know, $2,400.
$2,400, yeah.
Yeah, and some banks and other institutions are looking at 25%. So that's an important test that you have to meet, and that because you're animating these properties, I don't think there'll be any problem at all. You'll be well in excess of that, I would think. The issue then becomes the down payment, which becomes substantial. So if you bought Kensington, which is, you know, residential duplex, no problem. You'll be required to put down 25% or 20% maybe if you're lucky not 35%. But if you bought, maybe the other property on 42 William, it might be that you're required to put down 35%.
Yep.
So what you're trying to do, guys, is you're trying to do what we just talked about half an hour ago, which is buy smart, animate the thing, get it up and running, rent stabilize it, show good debt coverage, show really good net operating income, get it reappraised, pull some money out, and then rinse and repeat. So I would probably do a few. Kensington may not be the right place. It may be horrible, but I would probably do 3 or 4 8 Kensingtons before I took on a 42 William.
Yeah.
That's just me, but I want you to remember what Terry Matthews. You guys know Terry Matthews, right?
Yes.
He's a very successful guy. He's a good friend to me. He's been very kind to me over the years. He says in tech circles, but also real estate. He's big in real estate. He makes more money in real estate now than he does in tech.
Yeah.
Or at least he did before the pandemic came. Now I don't know. But before the pandemic, he was doing very well in his real estate portfolio. He says take the quickest, fastest, least expensive route to revenue.
Yep.
They're called the 10 Terryisms. And I have a copy of them here. I'm going to send you that too. He's a very smart man, and he has really been a guiding light for many people, including me. And I'll just share this screen with you. Okay. So here are the 10 Terryisms, and they work in real estate too. And they work in your business, Warren, and they work in my business. Form an early and lasting attachment to the customer. The reason he says that is no matter how smart we think we are, the moment you come into contact with an actual client, everything changes.
Yeah.
On that form that I'm sending you, Greg and Warren, after this conference is over, that form that I've worked on now for 3 months, has changed tremendously because I did some advertising on Kijiji. People came to me and they asked me all sorts of questions. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. So that 10 or 12 page, membership agreement is really something I wrote with the help of my future customers.
Yeah.
You cannot, any business that you come up with will change immediately when you come into contact with the customer. They'll ask you a question you didn't think of. So I often do vaporware marketing. In other words, I do the cart in front of the horse. I'll advertise for something and I think it's going to work. And then people will come and ask me questions and I'll change what I'm offering. And it also will change the highest and best use for the property. You guys sort of see that?
Yeah.
So often, even before I close on these properties, I put in the agreement of purchase and sale. Greg, this is a note for you. I actually put in the permission, if there's a long closing, I put in after waiver of all conditions, I have the right to market that property. You have to put that in the agreement of purchase and sale if there's a long closing. All right, and I'll actually put it up for sale. Up for rent, microsuite for rent, makerspace for rent, workshop for rent, whatever it is, whatever idea I'm coming up with, because even before I close, I'm going to learn from future customers what they want and what they don't want, and my highest and best use plan might change.
Yeah,
and it's better to know that before you build something.
Yeah,
for sure.
Or renovate it. All right, follow the fastest, least effort route to revenue. And I think he says follow the fastest, least effort and least costly route to revenue. Pursue only those goals that are consistent with overall objectives. Stay team focused. Follow your mentor's advice. That's very important.
Check.
There you go. Create a business first and cool tech second. Same thing in real estate. It's not about having a $100,000 chandelier. Keep your costs down. That's very important. Leverage the investment. In his case, with government grants. In your case, with other people's money. Right?
Yep.
That means lender money. Follow a global mandate from the get-go. That may not be too relevant here. Not only should you go after every geography, you should also go after every vertical. Again, that might not be too relevant. But those are good things to keep in mind, even in the real estate business. Now, there's one other thing. I do a lot of deals most of my mortgages, I think almost all of them now, are done through mortgage brokers. And I can't remember if you guys have a mortgage broker or not.
Nothing committed, no.
So that's very important member of your team. And the reason for that is a good mortgage broker can apply to 10 or 12 lenders with a push of a button. So you do one application with your mortgage broker, and he or she submits it to 10 or 12 institutions. I don't have to tell you how long it would take you guys to go and visit 10 banks. After you've done 2 of them, you'd be ready to shoot yourself.
Yep.
So I would never do that. And in most cases, the mortgage broker gets paid by the lender, not by you, so they're free to you guys. So, you know, and by the way, I use mortgage brokers, 2 or 3 of them. And on some of my commercial deals, in fact, most of my commercial deals, I pay them, and I'm happy to do that. Like, I don't mind paying fees for service, but I can tell you that I would not have the patience to go to 10 lenders, you know, bended knee and beg them for money. That I'm not going to do. So I really strongly recommend that you find a good mortgage broker. And if you want, I can introduce you. There's 2 or 3 that I really like, and I'd be happy to introduce you. You can interview them if you like them, fine. Use them. If you don't, use somebody else. But I need your permission. Beg your pardon?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll do some intros to mortgage brokers, okay?
Yeah, I have, Bruce, you have sent me over Sean McCormick's.
Yeah, Sean is good.
Yeah.
So just so you know, Sean McCormick I helped him establish his own fund. It's called Castle Bay Alliance. And if you guys ever need, you know, real quick financing for something that you want to buy or something you want to do, he has about $10 million now in his own fund that he can commit. Now, it's not cheap money. It's like 8 or 9% money. But again, if you ever said, oh, I'm going to just go buy that thing, and you just want an instant approval, he can do that.
Okay.
All right. So when I did the Belleville project, you know, we saw the building advertised for sale on a Friday. I was in Belleville on the Sunday doing the building inspection myself. I made the offer Sunday night with an irrevocable by noon on Monday. And a closing, this was, you know, the first week of September, and a closing at the end of September. So I went to Sean and I went to Castle Bay Alliance and I said, hey, listen, I need a few $100,000. I need it in 25 days. No problem. But I'm paying 8%. You know, I don't care because I just got it reappraised, by the way. I bought it for $280,500. It came in at 3.2 million. Okay.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter that I paid 8%, but I needed, if I gone to my bank in Nova Scotia, they would have taken between 3 and 6 months to do that.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just saying that if you know what you're doing and you have confidence in yourself, speed is more important than price.
Yeah.
But you have to have a plan. You have to know what the highest and best use is, or at least have a pretty good idea. And the 8% has to be a bridge to a 3 or 4% loan.
Yeah.
So I'll do an introduction though, again, for you, Warren, and Greg, to Sean McCormick. And if you don't like him, there's lots of others out there that I can introduce you to. But he's about 50 years of age, Greg, so younger than me. He's very resourceful, but he's also very quiet. So when you are talking to him, a lot of people, because he's so quiet, if you talk all the time like I do, he won't say a word. So, you know, you actually have to stop, because he actually does know what he's doing, but he won't say anything if you're talking. And he's worthwhile listening to. He is. He has very good judgment, but he's very sensitive, believe it or not. He's very sensitive, and he doesn't want to impose his views on other people. He just doesn't. So if you say, I want to do this, this, and this, he'll say, okay. But it could be completely wrong. So you have to give him an opportunity to speak. And I do impose the discipline on myself. I listen to Sean. You know, I stop talking, I say, Sean, what do you think? And then I just shut up. And you have to wait, because he'll just look at you like this. It's just, he's thinking, you know, that's just his nature. So you have to understand that if you're going to work with Sean McCormick. There's lots of other guys who are good talkers but don't do anything. There's a lot of mortgage brokers who are absolute, bandits. They'll rack up the fees and not actually do anything. So you have to be very careful with mortgage brokers. But if you get a good one, and I do like Sean, but anyway, that's just my thought. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to say about financing is I do a lot of deals, not just for myself, but for my dentist client with Equitable Bank. Equitable Bank does not care whether you have 5 properties or 50 properties or 307 properties. The Bank of Nova Scotia, the Royal Bank of Canada, TD, National Bank, and CIBC, once you get to 4 or 5 properties, they will stop funding you. If in fact they will fund you at all.
Really?
Yes. They limit. You have to understand the big banks in Canada. Their number one priority, Warren, is not helping entrepreneurs like you and Greg and me. The number one priority is preservation of capital.
Yeah.
That is it. That is their. So in this pandemic, if they could do no additional lending whatsoever, they probably would do that. Now, the government of Canada won't let them do that, but preservation of capital is the number one thing. So again, Warren, if you and your wife work for the government of Canada, you're making $215,000 a year. Your wife's making $150,000 a year. You're buying $1 million home. You're putting $400,000 down. You both have credit scores like Greg's in the mid to upper 800s. Yes, the Bank of Nova Scotia is going to give you a loan. Mm-hmm. But for people like us, they have closed their shop, and they won't tell you that. If you went to the Bank of Nova Scotia and said, we want to go to the commercial side because we're buying 5 units or 10 units or whatever, they'll be very nice to you, but they will string you along for 3, 4, 5, or 6 months, and then they'll tell you no.
Wow.
So I would strongly recommend that you save that 5 months of aggravation, and they will ask you for everything except your dick size.
Yep.
Okay? They will ask you for everything except how long is your penis. Okay? That you can keep private, but everything else they're going to find out, and then they're going to tell you no.
Yeah.
All right. So if you go to somebody like Sean McCormick or some of these other good mortgage brokers, they have very close relationships with the secondary lenders, Equitable Bank, Home Trust, many others, and they will get you mortgages. And so for you, Greg, if you go the B lender route, the distinction between residential and commercial really won't matter.
Yep.
Okay, what else do we want to go through today? Oh, I want to hear about the snowmobile model.
Okay. You can shut off the recording for this one.
All right, hang on a second. I'm going to end the recording now.